All right, what's up? My name is Chris, and today I want to cover something that will be very, very helpful for beginner pianists, really anyone starting out. I think this could be helpful, and also if you've never played chords on piano, which is a great thing to do. So let's just jump in here. So we're going to be looking at how to play. We could play chords like this. So if you've never played chords before, this is a good place to start, playing triads in the key of C. And I'm not going to go super in detail on this or in depth, but I'll try to give you the relevant information. So you want to know how to play some chords like this, just moving your thumb around, your right hand thumb, play them hands together if you like. But really a much more musical way to play chords in general would be to, instead of moving our whole hand like that, to play our one, which is oftentimes what the song starts on in the key of C, C chord, and then the 4 chord. So we just move our hand up for now, and then 5. An even easier way to do that, though, would be to play these chords, or I'll show you the C and F together. So do you notice that there's 2 C's? So what if I just keep this C, or actually keep this C, and I play an F chord like this, and move this C down an octave? So that's an inversion, right? This is actually the second inversion of F, because we would kind of like root position, first inversion, second inversion. But it doesn't really matter, right? It still sounds like F. It's a lot closer now to C. So that's our first movement we want to learn today, is 1 to 4, right? And this is a great shortcut for playing the 1 and 4 chord a lot, right? Just like that. There's a part of Handel's Hallelujah Chorus. Right, that's the melody there. So now there'll be times when we still want to play it like this, but we just want another great option, so we can play just like that. And if we notice, every scale is built the same. So we should notice that between 3 and 4 is a half step, right? So that moves up a half step, and I'm using 1, 3, 5. You could use 1, 3, 5 here as well, or you could use 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 4 for fingering, 1, 3, 5. So it just depends on if you want to pick up some fingers, but our thumbs stand put for sure. Okay, and then then on the top end of it, 5 to 6 is a whole step. Okay, so okay, going on. So that's one of the chords we play a lot, the 1 and the 4. This 4 chord is called the subdominant chord in any key. It's always major in a major key. And what else can we say about it? I call it the plot chord, because it often just goes away and kind of takes us away from home, right? And going back to home like that, 4 to 1, you'll hear that referred to as the amen cadence. Right. Amen. Yeah, playing it maybe in a different inversion. So, okay, but we're looking here. So, and now we need a 5 chord. So if we go up to our 5 chord, there's our G, right? That's 5 notes up from C. We only count the letters, the alphabet letters. So we never count like C sharp or, we just skip those keys. Okay, so here's our 5 chord. And then if we do the same thing I did before, so we notice we have a G in common. That's it. But this B and D, what if I move them down there? So it's kind of a mirror of C to F. 1 to 5 looks like our pinky stand put, and then these guys going down 1. And because we're in the key of C, which is all white keys, we don't have to worry about any black keys. But we do want to notice, right? 3 to 2 is like 5 to 6 earlier. It's a whole step. And then this is a half step. So everything's reversed. Now our half step's on the outside. And this is the 5 chord, right? So this is a good way to play C to G, or 1 to 5. And if you didn't pay attention to the half steps or how this feels, or, kind of the music stuff behind it, you could only do this in the key of C. But if we really internalize, 1 to 7 is a half step, right? 3 to 2 is a half step. So there I'm using 1, 2, 5 and 1, 3, 5. Feels pretty good. So now let's try that in another key. So we'll do this whole thing in another key, just to review. So we have 3 to 4 is a half step, 5 to 6. Like that. And in our left hand, when you're ready for that, what I would do is just put your pinky or your thumb on C. Let's say my pinky's on C. And then you just want to find the F and the G and you're going to play good bass notes eventually. Go like this. So we'll still play the F in the bass, even though this is a C in the bass here. This is an F chord still, so. And then here's our G. We'll go back to C. Okay? So I'll cover one more chord we can do with this little thing here in a sec, but let's try this in G. So G is the 1 o'clock position on circle fifths. That means it's got one block key. And we're going to find it pretty soon if we use these rules that we just did. So 1 to 4, 3 to 4 is a whole half step, so that's good. And then 5 is going to 6, that's a whole step. So there's our C chord, and that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So instead of playing it like that, I'm playing it like that, which is kind of cool already because now we can see like this, we can see this from another perspective, right? We can see it from here. Going to 5, back to 1. But for now, we'll just call our root position our 1. That's our 1 shape. Here's our 4 shape. And then now let's go to the 5 chord. Now, 1 needs to go down to 7 by a half step. So here's our black key. That's why we have F sharp in the key of G. And then 3 goes down to 2, whole step. So there's our 1 black key, right? And that's exactly why we have it, is this half step rule. That if we played this, it would sound not correct. We need a leading tone. A good tune to really show that is anything with a scale kind of melody, like going like this. So there, right? That really shows off that sound. Ooh, that's cool too, but okay. So, it's kind of cool. We'll try this in F, and you're going to see why we have flats at all. So in the key of F, let's go 1 to 4. So 3 to 4 has to go up a half step. So therefore we have B flat. And then 5 goes up to 6. Right, back to 1. And now going down, 1 to 7 to half step, that's fine. And then 3 to 2. So that's another way to see F and C, right? That's kind of cool. So you could have a song where you start here as a 4 chord going to 1 of C. So, but again, we're going to stick to root position as 1. Okay, so it's kind of cool, right? And then when we go down further down the circle, 4ths and 5ths, or either side of the circle, you're going to be adding the flat or the sharp to maintain either the 7th note in the case of sharps, right? If we do this in the key of D, well, here I now have F sharp built into the key. That keeps all our distance, right, the same, just like C. I've got 2 whole steps here. Just like that. And then I have a half step between 3 and 4. And so that's why, obviously that sounds minor. So then going into the 4 chord, there's our 4, right? And now going back, here's our 5, and we are introduced with should say C sharp, but it says A over D flat. So there's an A chord. So that's 1, 4, 1, 5, adding that 7th note. And every new sharp will be the 7th note again for a leading tone. And the other leading tone we have in music is this, 4 going to 3. So that's why we start with a D chord like this, so we can go like this. 4 down to 3, right? So it's kind of good to know those kind of rules, I think. It really helps us play in new keys. And if you can find a triad, you could even do this stuff where you, let's say, let's pick a weird one. So here's a cool little way to think about chords. If you're trying to find a chord like F sharp, you can just think, well, it's F, and you sharp everything. So if you do that, you raise it up a half step. If I reset this key thing to be on F sharp, semantically, I will. There we go. Now we have the right note names. Now 3 goes up to 4, half step for the 4 chord. And this goes up to 5, goes up to 6, a whole step. So now I've got a way to intuit that, right? Now going back to the 5 chord, this goes down a half step. This is going to be technically called E sharp, right? Because of the key, because we have F sharp already, so we can't call it F. So I go down, this goes down, 3 goes down to 2, a whole step. Now I've got some ways to intuit those chords and to think about them, right? So, and if you do G flat, it'd be the same notes, but just different note names. So, okay, there's one more chord let's cover here. I've only been going 2 minutes, okay. So I would try this, going very, very slowly in a few different keys. And I would also try it with your left hand, giving a good bass note. That's my pinkies on C there. You could also try thumb on C and be going like that. But the idea here is I don't have to look at either hand, right? My right hand can now feel 1 to 4. And now once I learn the keys and learn what, sharps happen, I can kind of get used to the feeling of planting down either my thumb or my pinky. Right? And then my left hand can just feel the bass notes if I put my fingers on there and I use good fingering. So I'm using 5, 2, 1, or 1, 4, 5. So one other chord you can play with this kind of idea and configuration with chords is for free, meaning you don't have to move your right hand at all. We're going to also play the 6th chord. So that could go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is A minor 7. So, that just is adding. The reason this works is because there's an A minor 7. And this 7th note is a real tame note to add to a chord. Just kind of gives a little bit more coolness and depth. Here's A minor, right? So here we can just move this down in the left hand. So it's a nice way to play the really 4 main chords in music and popular music, a big umbrella term. There's so many songs that are 1, 4, 5, or 6. Now you could do a 6th chord if you want to move this up. But again, this kind of adds some character to me. So there's no harm. But yeah, you can play a 6th chord just by moving up 5 to 6 there. And that's great too. So, but it's kind of nice that these 3 chords in classical music, they kind of represent the 3 main functions of music, meaning home, subdominant, right, plot chord, and then the dominant chord wants to go back to home because we have this leading tone there, right? So the 6th chord, kind of think of it like a sad home chord. It's like a melancholy, kind of the flip side of the home sound. So that's pretty stable, right? Sounds good to end a song like that. Now, this also works in minor. So we won't do that today, but you could totally go and think about minor. So I'll have another video on that. Very similar, only the half steps and whole steps are different because it's actually only different going from 1 to 4 because 1 to 5 is the same. Well, I guess it is still different because of we're starting off with the minor 3rd, but the 5 chord's the same. So we'll talk more about that another time. What I was going to say, just going through, and if you're doing 1, 4, 5, and 6, you could put your thumb on one and left hand, and then your 6 could be with your middle, your 3rd, and then your 5 could be with your 4th finger, and then your 4 chord. So there's countless songs you can play this with, but just as a way of kind of testing whether you know the chords, I would just think through like a tune like Happy Birthday. So if you do that in C, that would be 1 and 5, 5, back to 1, 1 and 4, and 1, 5, 1. And you can really kind of get around and practice those. Let's try it in G. Okay, so find a G, doesn't matter which one. Okay, so let's go 1, 5, 5, 1, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Okay, 1 and 5, 5 back to 1 and 4 and 1, 5. Good. Yeah, and you can just go through the circle, and you get more and more used to the feels of these, just kind of moving around in a certain key. So one more level to this is actually making it a little easier. But now that you know the official kind of way to do it, this is a really nice way too. Is basically thinking about moving only the middle of these. So instead of moving the top 2 here, what if we just move the middle? And then that could be my 4 chord, which is actually F sus2. So if you want to look into that more, that's all that means. We're moving the 2nd or the 3rd down to the 2nd, suspending it. Or you can also do sus4. So you're going to get kind of these sus sounds when we do this. So we get a little more subtle, right? And then now let's go to the 5 chord. Same idea. So G sus4. And then you could actually do G. That sounds really nice, right? So I could go, and here I could go down. Right, so lots of popular music kind of uses this in the kind of DNA of the music. Right, and then the sixth chord blends right in, right? It's beautiful. You can play so many songs like I'm hearing, if I do this in the key of F, I could play The Scientist by Coldplay. Or down here. Pretty similar voicings. Or doing just the middle. It's kind of this sound. It didn't really move the bass. If I wanted to go to the C chord, right? Sounds super nice. And then you can do, of course, both. Like that. Right, so it's very flexible. And I've been using this method with students for a little bit, and it seemed to really help them kind of understand chords. And I love, too, that the idea here is that we're overlaying the scale, and we're thinking about half steps and whole steps of, really knowing the positions of the scale. So knowing in the key of E that it drives me crazy. I have to see E proper. That if I know that this is 3 in the key of E, that just helps me as a musician. If I know that this is 6 when I go up, right? 6 has to be a whole step away. 4 has to be a half step away. So, and then 2 has to be a whole step away, and then this has to be a half step away, 1 to 7. Right, so it just really helps you kind of think of the scale and the key kind of geography, plus play chords and not play them very clunky, moving your whole hand like that. That's okay, right? But there's usually a better way, a smoother way to play it. So here I can kind of get into these really nice sounds. And really, to be truthful, this is my least favorite voicing of a 1 chord, but it's the easiest to think about. So the next one we'll look at, which I can do another video on, will be thinking about it probably from the perspective of if I do it here, yeah, this is the easiest one, I think. It's the next easiest one because this is first inversion, but I got a 4 chord right there. And see how they both move on the outside still? And then my 5 chord, you could do a few things. You could do this, or you could even move the A chord up a whole step. I think this is a little bit better because of this motion here on the top. But then we have our outsides moving, right? So you could even do this on the 5 chord. Sometimes when you're doing something new, you can kind of find that from the key of A, right? 1, 5, 1, 4, 1. And also, so once you find this, you can go to the 4 chord easier. And then the 5 chord, you just kind of play in the middle, just even 2 notes, the root and third. And kind of, right? So, but that's kind of getting used to it at a deeper level, which is good because once you practice these chords in multiple ways, and then this would be the other one. This is kind of weird on the outside because we're moving the outsides together when we do the 1 to 4, and then we have a root position 5 chord. So it just depends what sound you want eventually. When I'm playing a song, it's very intuitive. You want to make sure you're not thinking. If I'm playing Let It Be, I know there's an original piano part, but if I'm just playing keys on it, I'm going. So I think it's kind of with the third on top, maybe, in the recording. But, I don't want to be thinking about what inversion I'm playing. I just want to build my fingers to find the right chords. Or what if I was playing, I don't know, any popular music. This is a great way to get around and to just not have to think about what you're doing as much. And we can feel it. There's just so many good reasons. And also it can just help you learn about the different keys, right? Kind of getting all that stuff on speed dial. So, okay. I'll wrap it up today. That's all I wanted to cover, but I'll be back next time. We'll maybe look at another inversion of this, or maybe this in minor. So hopefully this helps. Thanks.